to the Boise State Broncos, champions of the Crucial. The Broncos have done it! How about these Boise State Broncos? 13 wins and 1 loss.
For football here at Bronco Stadium. The Broncos won the coin flip and they have elected to receive, which usually they like to do here at home. Number 35, Eric Azor, is the kickoff guy for Portland State. Back for the Broncos.
We got Quentin Jones and Lee Marks.
And we are underway here at Bronco Stadium. The kick is deep, and the Broncos will start at their own 20. So the Broncos start first and 20. That's Lee Marks in motion. And Marks can't get the reception, but we do have a flag on the play. Let's see what this is all about.
Foul, roughing the passer. Defense, number 57. 15-yard penalty, automatic, first down.
Ryan Friesen with the infraction for Portland State, and right out of the blocks, the Broncos move right down the field on a penalty, and Friesen likes to get to the quarterback.
Well, he has 7.5 sacks on the season. That's what he does. He just got there a little bit late, and it cost Portland State dearly.
15-yard penalty. Broncos have first and 10 at their own 35. Lee Marks, incomplete, a little high, and that'll bring up second down. Here's the rest of the offensive starters for the Broncos. First, the backs and receivers.
And Legadu Nani not shown there. He's coming off a breakthrough game in Hawaii. The key guy, Derek Schumann, who would like to get things back together tonight. On the offensive line, what can you say about Darren College, the kick blocking bruises notwithstanding?
Second and 10 at the Broncos 35. This is Lee Marks, and he's ahead to the 37, gain of 2. Here's your starting lineup for Portland State along the front.
And you have two Pac-10 transfers at tackle there, Gehring and Tyler. Ryan Friesen, as we mentioned, the top defender. He's one of the linebackers, not shown here. Joey King is their star. And across the secondary, Dominic Dixon, a playmaker.
Jeff Carpenter into the game at running back for the Broncos, and Zabransky in shotgun. That's Legadu Nane in motion. Zabransky gets it away to Carpenter, and that's going to be incomplete. That'll bring up third down. Brendan Farino back for the Portland State Vikings as Kyle Stringer gets it away. A good punt. Fair catch called by Farino. And Portland State going to start at their own 16-yard line. As the crowd continues to file in, a sold-out game here tonight, and just a beautiful night for football.
People having too much fun in the parking lot, so the typical late arrivals are giving up the tailgate parties.
Sawyer Smith is the starting quarterback for Portland State. He is a junior. He's a big guy, 6'5", 230, but Portland State likes to do it on the ground. They start at their own 16, first and 10 Vikings. The give is to Joe Rubin. We're going to see a lot of him tonight. A couple of yards out to the 19. Stopped by Corey Hall.
We'll see a lot of Corey Hall, too. As we look at the backs and receivers, Rubin, of course, is the key guy there. They'll be trying to get the ball to wide receiver Sean Bodiford a lot tonight.
And the offensive line, there you see, they're actually pretty big for a Division I AA team as they go along the front, and it is 2nd and 8 for the Vikings.
4 of the 5 across the front are 300-pounders for PSU.
This is Smith. Adam Whitehead with the catch. Out to the 25-yard line, brings up 3rd down. And here's your defensive starters for the Broncos. A lot of experience across the front.
Stop the run is the theme tonight, starting with Alex Guerrero and Andrew Bowning. And Corey Hall, of course, he is big tonight. In the secondary, Orlando Skandrick wants to take the next step as a corner. He was big on special teams last week. Not satisfied with his play at cornerback as he starts over Quentin Jones.
3rd and 2 for Portland State. They're at their own 25. Joe Rubin with a lot of room. And he's out all the way to the 45, brought down by Gerald Alexander.
That's why he's the top running back or top rusher in Division I AA.
Rubin again. This time out to the Bronco 45 into Boise State territory, close to a 1st down. 2nd and 1 at the Boise State 46-yard line.
Vikings have some options with this play.
Smith, and he's going to take off. Gets it out to the 40-yard line, and that's good for a 1st down, and lots of time there for Sawyer Smith. Adam Whitehead in motion, and this is Joe Rubin. And Rubin showing why he leads the nation in rushing in 1AA, taking it inside the 35. And we got a whistle on the field.
Timeout, Portland State.
So they want to talk about it, and Portland State, with Joe Rubin on the ground, moving it deep inside Boise State territory as we are just underway here at Bronco Stadium. Tim Walsh and the Vikings not afraid to play Division I teams. They already played Oregon State earlier this year, and he has an 80-61 record in 13 seasons at Portland State. And they actually beat Hawaii back in 2000, the only time Portland State has beaten a Division I team.
Yeah, they are 1-19 all time against Division IA. It doesn't seem to matter to them right now.
And Dan Hawkins has seen Portland State on a 6-play, 49-yard drive to open the game. It is 2nd down. Rubin this time, no room, stuffed at the line of scrimmage, maybe got a yard, and that is going to bring up 3rd down for the Broncos. Farino is the man in motion. And Joe Rubin is stopped, and it's going to be real close.
Boy, Nick Schleckaway grabbed his forward progress and moved it back, and we'll see where they give that forward progress. Looks like he will be about a half-yard short. They're going to measure anyway. The ball's outside the 31-yard line. They have to get inside to get the 1st down.
So the Vikings, 7 plays, 50 yards on this drive. They started at their own 17. And let's look at the measurement.
We just saw Joe Rubin down there as it is about a 1.5 foot short there. Joe Rubin with 356 yards on 47 carries against Northern Colorado a few weeks ago, and last week at Eastern Washington, 40 for 180.
So it looks like the Vikings are going to gamble early here in this ball game.
And with Rubin, why not?
When you got a guy like that, pretty confident, he could probably pick you up a half a yard. So here we go, 4th and inches for Portland State.
They like Alan Kennett, the fullback, in these situations too.
And it's Rubin, lots of room. And he scores the touchdown on 4th and inches. And Portland State, just like that, has marched down the field, 31 yards for Rubin.
7 carries for 71 yards on that drive for Joe Rubin. Broncos tried to stuff the middle, and Rubin takes it to the outside, and there's only one guy back there, and he was blocked.
Touchdown. So now the Vikings tacking on the extra point. That's Eric Azor. It's up and it's good. So Portland State set to kick it off again. Quentin Jones and Lee Marks back for the Broncos. And Eric Azor kicking it away for the Vikings. Another deep kick, and this is Jones out of the end zone. And Jones ahead past the 20. Brought down by Jordan Sen. Jeff Carpenter in the backfield. That's Legadou Nane in motion. Carpenter all the way out past the 30, and that's going to be good for a first down.
That's something the Broncos have to do tonight, is run the ball. They know it, Portland State knows it, and Jeff Carpenter obviously knows it.
And you mentioned it in the pregame, a committee, and it works very well for the Broncos as far as changing pace.
Great block there initially by Tad Miller to get Carpenter some extra yards.
So that's a first down. Broncos at their own 32-yard line. Carpenter, no room, and it looks like he's going to lose 2 yards, brought down by Mathis Gehring. Second down for the Broncos. Ian Johnson now into the ball game in the backfield. Zabransky. Gerard Rabb across the 40, and they're going to call that complete. A great grab by Rabb.
And they give him a generous spot, 2 to the 43-yard line, which will give the Broncos a first down. This was a Rabb grab, as you said, Dave, because the ball a little bit underthrown there by Zabransky, seriously underthrown. The Portland State sideline thought that it was a skip, but it's a first down, Boise State.
No replay review tonight, so the first down counts, and the Broncos now up ahead to their own 43-yard line. They'll have 1st and 10 there.
Wholesale personnel change as the Broncos go to one of 20 to 40 personnel groups that they will use on offense.
Empty backfield this time. Zabransky, Dryzen James. And he takes it all the way down to the Portland State 37-yard line. A pickup of nearly 20 yards, and that's a Bronco first down. Lee Marks on the carry. Stuffed for no gain, brings up a second down. As we have 2nd and 10. Zabransky on the keeper. This is Jeff Carpenter. Couple of yards.
Option played well that time by Steve Sheinin.
So that was a pickup of 5, brings up 3rd and 5 for the Broncos. Carpenter still in the backfield for the Broncos. Cole Clayson in motion. Zabransky, nice catch by Dryzen James. First down at the 14. Ian Johnson in the backfield. And we have a whistle.
This is not the point, the place on the field that you want to go backwards.
Before the ball was snapped, full start. Offense number 54, 5-yard penalty, still first down.
Jeff Cavender there, the center. So here we go, 1st and 15. That's Lee Marks. And he has no room and is probably going to lose a yard. Legadou Nane in motion. And we have another flag on the field.
Offense, number 71, 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
Ryan Keating this time, the right tackle with motion, and the Broncos moving in the wrong direction here. It is 2nd and 21 now. Lee Marks in motion. Zabransky. Cole Clayson. And he's inside the 20, brought down by Odell Jackson. 3rd and long. Ian Johnson into the ball game at running back. Zabransky's going to take off. And he takes it down to the 10, but we got a flag on the play.
And this one's going to come back. A hold against Boise State. It's unfortunate that we're going to hear another name called in the Boise State offensive line, because generally these guys have been super here the first 4 games of the season. Tad Miller slapping his hands together.
Offense number 66. 10-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
So it's 3rd and a mile. The ball at the Portland State 28. They got to get to the 4-yard line. Zabransky. And he finds Brad Lau. He's down to the 16, but not nearly enough for a first down. It is spotted at the 23. It'll be a 33-yard attempt. And it is a fake. Kyle Stringer takes it inside the 10, but not enough for a first down. And the Broncos turn it over on downs.
Kyle Stringer, I guess he's got a lot of confidence in his running game after the 13-yard run for a first down on that drive against Hawaii last week.
And you know, Kyle was a running back in high school in Humble, Texas, and it was a fake all the way. And they come up a good 4 or 5 yards short.
It was a great call. It was just too long to go, too far to go.
So the Broncos feeling like they can afford to gamble here early. They're down 7-0. Portland State has the ball. 1st and 10 at their own 9-yard line. And Sawyer Smith with a timeout. That's their 2nd timeout of the half. They give it to Rubin, and why not? Up ahead to the 14, gain of 5. 2nd down and 5 for Portland State. Rubin again. And lots of room. He's brought down at the 43 by Colt Brooks and Orlando Skandrick, and a huge gain for Rubin, and Portland State marching it down the field again. That's Farino in motion. Rubin again. Brought down there by Marty Tadman, a gain of a couple. 2nd and 7, Vikings. Smith incomplete, intended for Brendan Farino. 3rd and 7, Portland State. Smith in the shotgun. Now he goes under center. We got false start.
Steve Blatchley, the left tackle.
Offense number 69. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Here we go, 3rd and 12. Smith over the top, incomplete to Farino, and the Broncos hold on 3rd down, and that'll bring up a 4th down and a punt. Levers gets it away. Smith takes it at the 10. And he's brought down by the caller, Jordan Senn, there making the stop, as the Broncos will start on their own 15. Zabransky, the give is to Ian Johnson, and no room. He'll be stopped for no gain. 2nd and 10 for the Broncos. Dryzen James in motion. Zabransky. Out to Ryan Putnam, the seldom used Ryan Putnam. He's the backup tight end, and he gets a gain of 8 will bring up second and short for the Broncos from Southern California. So it's third and 2 for the Broncos. That is Lee Marks with the carry.
Flags on the field,
Antoine Carter, excuse me, with the carry. We do have flags on the field.
Illegal formation. Offense. Only 6 players on the line of scrimmage. 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
That's an unusual penalty.
I think Chris Peterson's probably going crazy up in the press box right now.
Dan Hawkins doesn't look too thrilled either. 10 seconds to go here in the first quarter, and Portland State surprising the Broncos. They're up 7-0, and now pushes them back to third and long. Third and 7. Jeff Carpenter into the game, and it looks like we got a timeout.
End of the first quarter.
And that'll do it for the first quarter. And a surprise here, Portland State up on top of Boise State 7-0. The Broncos will have it third and long coming up when we're back for the second quarter. They are at their own 18. Zabransky gonna tuck it away, and he's out of bounds at the 23, short of a first down, brought down by Adam Hayward, and that'll bring up a fourth down for the Broncos. Stringer gets it away. Farino calls for the fair catch, and Portland State will start there at their 33, but there is a flag on the field.
Well, it wasn't interference. We know that. There was nobody
there was a lot
within
of
7
room.
yards of Farino. I'm surprised he didn't return that one.
Tim Walsh.
During the return, holding receiving team number 6. That is a 10-yard penalty from the end of the kick. First down, Portland State.
First and 10. Broncos show blitz. Rubin. Gain of about 1 or 2.
Broncos now will go to a 3-man front.
Smith. Rubin, no room. Brought down hard by Chris Barrios for a loss on the play.
Rubin very fortunate to make that catch, as Barrios was right on him. Broncos had a 3-man front. At the bottom of your screen, or actually at the left of your screen, you'll see Ellis Powers coming in on a corner blitz. So Sawyer had to loft it, pop it over the top of Powers, and it was not a very good throw.
And Barrios, just a great story. The senior from Southern California bided his time behind Andy Avalos, and now a chance to start and making the most of it. Third down and 12 for Portland State. That's Farino in motion. Smith out to Rubin, and tackled there by Colt Brooks. No gain, and Portland State will have to punt.
There's your sure tackle from the sophomore from Bishop Kelly, the former quarterback. Colt Brooks kind of sounds like a rodeo name, and that's the way it was there. He is wrestled down.
And he got that done there, and now fourth down. Andrew Levers to punt for Portland State. Quentin Jones now back to return for the Broncos. He got one last week against Hawaii, and he's gonna fair catch it, and there's a flag on the play. Quentin Jones looks like he got blocked into there. Let's take a look at what's gonna happen. Odell Jackson there for Portland State. He did call the fair catch.
Yeah, it was fair catch interference. The ball will go to Boise State.
He was pushed into that. Dryzen James pushed by Jackson, and
hit the ball hit Jackson in the back. So Boise State will retain possession. They just have to decide where.
And the referees thinking, okay, let's sort this out here.
What happens when it hits the other guy in the numerals, and then the one guy's blocked into the other guy, and then He's blocked into his guy.
There are 2 fouls on the play. During the kick, holding on the receiving team. Kick catch interference on the kicking team. Those penalties will offset previous spot, 4th down, replay.
We went a long way to get there.
That was a long way. So basically Quentin Jones now going to get a chance to return another kick. And as we saw last week at Hawaii, that's probably a good thing for the Broncos.
Yeah, the Broncos don't mind that. You know, the 2 flags were thrown in the same place, so I'm thinking the hold must have been on Bryson James, though I did not see that.
So we're going to do it again. Andrew Levers to kick.
Broncos are stacked up there in the middle.
Low snap. Levers gets it away. Quentin Jones at his own 33. And nowhere to go. We do have another flag on the play.
Ryan Friesen came down and made the stop. Boy, this has been a flag fest here. 8th penalty of the game.
So let's sort this one out. Dan Hawkins, that look kind of says it all right there.
So it doesn't look good for Boise State.
During the kick, holding on the receiving team, number 11. 10-yard penalty from the end of the kick.
Wow.
1st down, Boise State.
If it wasn't on Bryson
Timeout.
James last time, it is this time.
Bryson James holding. That's going to push them back. They'll start at their own 21. All right, let's take it down to the sidelines with Larry Gebert.
Thank you very much, David. And, you know, Bronco fans of old might remember Vincent Caldi, quarterback, 1986, came as a junior college transfer, was injured that first year, played most of his second year, 2,500 yards passing, 20 touchdowns, is now an assistant coach with Portland State. He was a graduate assistant under Skip Hall here for the Broncos, but for the last couple of years he's been at Portland State, now the assistant head coach. Let's go back up to the booth.
Ian Johnson, thanks Larry. Ian Johnson with a gain of 4 for the Broncos on 1st down, brought down by Casey Tyler. That'll bring up 2nd down.
His group is doing a great job so far tonight.
Yeah, he's probably really happy right now. 2nd down. Ian Johnson, gain of a couple, flag on the field.
This looks like it's in the holding zone again on Boise State. Ian Johnson doing a lot of work himself on these first 2 carries of this series.
Uncharacteristic mistakes here.
Holding, offense, number 66. 10-yard penalty, repeat 2nd down.
2nd down and 15. It's Ian Johnson, the man in motion. Zabransky to pass. Sherm Blaser with his 2nd reception of the season. The Eagle product gets it up close to the 30-yard line. So it's 3rd and 4. Lee Marks in the game at running back for the Broncos. We have movement on the line.
Wow.
And it looks like
Before the ball was snapped, false start. Offense, number 79. 5-yard penalty, remains 3rd down.
Ryan Clady into the game, the freshman, and it looked in his defense like the defense jumped first and then he moved and he got called for it.
Yeah, he knows he has to stay in his stance. Chris Peterson told us yesterday that Clady would get some playing time tonight and he might be a little bit rusty. After missing 2 games, you don't just step in and do everything right, and that was an example.
The big freshman had a sprained knee. So 3rd and 9, Zabransky. Over the middle, behind Legadou Nane, incomplete. Punt coming for Stringer. He's standing at his own 8-yard line. Brendan Farino back for the Vikings. Farino takes it at the 36. And he's all the way up to midfield, brought down by Corey Hall with the initial hit there. And the Vikings going to start at midfield here. They're already up 7-0. And we have a timeout on the field. 10:07 to go here in the first half. 1st and 10 Vikings. They're at their own 49-yard line. Joe Rubin again, and he's out into Bronco territory, a pickup of 7 yards. 2nd and 3. The play fake. Smith, first down yardage to Allen Kennett, the fullback. Rubin again. This time not much there, brought down by Nick Schleckaway. 2nd and 9. Smith. That's Bodiford, his first grab of the night. He's their top receiver. Sean Bodiford takes it to the 34. So that was a gain of 5. Brings up 3rd and 4 at the Bronco 34. Rubin. And he is stopped at the line of scrimmage. Chris Barrios, among others, in on the stop. Also Mike G. Williams there. No gain, brings up a 4th down.
Rubin going lateral along the line here, looking for an opening. That closed up too quickly for him to do anything about it. It's too far for a field goal, too close for a punt. It looks like what Portland State is thinking. Sawyer Smith, knowing that the Vikings want to go for it here on 4th down and wondering what the play call is going to be.
They've already used 2 timeouts, and they're taking a lot of time here. And
well, they took the penalty to get 5 yards further out for the penalty.
Okay, so they took delay of game. That gives the punter a little bit more breathing room. Andrew Levers going to come on for the kick. And the Broncos declined it.
You can decline delay of game.
So Andrew Levers now on to kick. Austin Smith backpedaling.
They could fake it here too. I mean, why not?
It's 4th and 3. Levers gets it away, trying to angle it.
Oh, boy.
And it takes a Portland State bounce. We do have a flag on the play. Portland State downed it inside the 5, but we do have a flag, and it's against Portland State holding.
And the Broncos will make them kick that one again.
I would say so.
Tim Walsh in his
holding offense, number 48. That is a 10-yard penalty from the previous spot. Replay 4th down.
You saw Tim Walsh in his 13th season after taking over for Pokey Allen back in 1993.
Byron Woods, the guilty party on the hold, pushes him back 10, and this is going to give Austin Smith a little bit more breathing room. As Levers set to kick it again, he's standing at his own 41.
They'll try to get some foot into this one.
Smith takes it at the 6. Down the sidelines. He's still on his feet, pushed out of bounds past midfield, but it looks like there's a flag on the field. So hold the phone.
This one may come all the way back to the 5-yard line.
And a great run back by Smith. And you saw with Quentin Jones last week, the Broncos very solid on the punt return.
During the return, illegal block in the back on the receiving team. That penalty is half the distance to the goal. Timeout.
So that nearly 50-yard run nullified. The Broncos will start deep in their own end as they trail the Vikings 7-0. Number 55, Chris Barrios on the left of your screen, and a ticky-tack foul there, called for pushing in the back on Steve Sheinin, and very questionable.
It's just incidental contact in my mind.
And that nullifies the big punt return, so the Broncos 1st and 10 at their own 5. Derek Schumann in motion. Zabransky. And he's going to lose 2 yards, and lucky to get it out of the end zone on that one, brought down by Cole Smith. Right now, 2nd and 12. This is Ian Johnson. And he's out close to the 15. Antoine Carter in a tailback. That's Putnam in motion. And Carter gets it. And Carter is going to be short of the first down, brought down by Dominic Dixon.
And the Broncos are going to go for it on 4th and 1 at the 14-yard line.
They're on their own 14, and a big gamble here for Coach Hawkins. That's Ian Johnson in the backfield, and it is a sneak.
Boy,
not a lot of room.
Left foot, right foot here.
Depends on the spot.
They've given it to him.
Yep, they're going to give him the first down. They're not even going to measure.
4th and 1 at your inside your own 15-yard line, and you get it.
You don't see that a lot. 1st and 10 now at the 15. This is Johnson. Big gain of 11 yards out past the 25. Another first down for the Broncos.
21 for Ian Johnson on his last 2 carries. And the Broncos going with a quick no huddle here very suddenly.
So here we go, first down. Zabransky over the middle, and it's going to get picked off. Charles Meningo all the way down inside the 15 on the interception return for Portland State.
Roughing the passer. Defense, number 99. 15-yard penalty. Automatic. First down.
And the Broncos dodge a bullet there. Casey Tyler flagged for roughing the passer.
One of those 300-pound defensive tackles for Portland State. 6'6", 310. Sophomore transfer from the University of Washington. And is that a huge penalty the other way? Wow.
And that is a big penalty.
Zabransky already pressured. Threw it away, intended for Jeff Carpenter. It was nowhere near him.
So the Broncos keep the drive alive. It's 1st and 10 now at their own 42. This is Lee Marks. Close to the 45, gain of 2 or 3, brought down by Jamal Abdullah. 55 on the ground for the Broncos tonight. That brings up 2nd down. That's Legadou Nane in motion. The pitch is to Carpenter. And nowhere to go. That's going to be a loss of 2. We're under 3 minutes, and the Broncos find themselves down 7-0. 3rd and long. Nane in motion. Zabransky. He finds Gerard Rabb to the 40-yard line of Portland State. First down, Broncos.
Zabransky with plenty of time that time. Great job by the offensive line. There you see Ryan Keating on the right side. Zabransky loves to throw on the run, and he got more zip than usual while throwing on the run. Sometimes the balls float a little bit when he throws on the run, although many are completed. That ball had some pump to it.
Gain of 16 into Portland State territory, 1st and 10 at the 40. Zabransky in shotgun. Crossing to Dryzen James. Hit hard at the 32, gain of 8. Carpenter back in the game, that's Nane in motion. Zabransky to Nane, first down, out of bounds at the 28. 1st and 10 Broncos at the 28. Carpenter in the backfield, that's Murray in motion. Screen to Carpenter. He's got a blocker, 1 man to beat.
Out of bounds.
Out of bounds at the 1. I was waiting for the call, and it didn't come. I think the fans wanted it to come. But Jeff Carpenter on the screen, big time yardage, a gain of 27.
That's the first time they've set up the screen tonight, and great job on the left side of the offensive line to delay. They held their blocks for quite a while before they drifted out to form the screen. Boy, that looked pretty good to me there.
And I think the Broncos thought they scored because Kyle Stringer was on the field.
26-yard gain for Jeff Carpenter down to the 2, and the Broncos need to get this thing in.
First and goal at the 2-yard line. Antoine Carter in the game. And that's what he does best. Touchdown, Broncos.
Antoine Carter, the bowling ball from Aiken, South Carolina, does a Brock Forsey here. But that's Brock Forsey squared.
So here's Anthony Montgomery for the point after. It's up and it's good. And so the Broncos roll the dice early on this drive, convert a 4th and short deep in their own end, and it pays off. They're all tied up with 1:15 to go in the half. So the tide turning a little bit here as the Broncos kicking it away. That's Kyle Stringer. Kenneth Mackin's there, and the ball goes out of bounds and not good. With 1:15 left, they're going to probably have to chuck it.
Sawyer Smith, 5 of 7 for 12 yards.
1st and 10, and they give it to Rubin. Gain of 4. So it's going to be 2nd and 5. Boise State has 2 timeouts remaining. Portland State 1 left in this half. 2nd and 5, Portland State. That's Rubin. Gain of about 2.
Here comes another timeout.
So here we go, 3rd and 2 for Portland State. Broncos trying to get the ball back. And they give us to Rubin. And he's going to be short of a first down. Marty Tadman and Chris Barrios there making sure the Broncos are going to have another possession. He loves making plays, and he is that for the Broncos. So Portland State ready to punt it away. Andrew Levers. And that is Quentin Jones. Calls for the fair catch, and the Broncos are going to get it at their own 16 with 52 ticks left here in the first half. So here we go, Broncos 1st and 10 on the 16. They're trying to make something happen here. Zabransky over the middle, picked. Intercepted.
Now the Vikings have 43 seconds to work with and 1 timeout left.
Smith, the pump. Incomplete, intended for Sean Bodiford. Smith to pass again. Complete, down to the 6-yard line. Smith to Bodiford. He gets his foot in, and it's a touchdown, Vikings.
Boy, that was not a sure call by that official.
And this crowd stunned right now.
The fade, the ball seemed to hang up there forever. It's just a pop-up. Alexander didn't turn around until the last moment. Bodiford did get that left foot down. The official had to think about it, but it was a good call.
Azor in for the point after. It's up and through, and Portland State shocking Boise State. They are up 14-7 with 24 seconds to go here in the first half.
Knuckle.
And it is a knuckleball, and it's going to be Jones. And he's got a lane. Up past the 35, brought down at the 38 by Stanley Jackson. Zabransky. Across the middle to Legadou Nane, out of bounds at the 46-yard line. That's close to a first down, but that's really the least of their worries now. The clock is down to 10 seconds. They've probably got time for 2 plays.
Well, two plays if it goes out of bounds.
Exactly.
If it stays in the field, the clock would stop on a first down and there could be a spike.
Here's Zabransky to the sideline. Dryson James out of bounds at the 35. 4 seconds left, and that would be a 52-yard field goal from there.
Well, Dryson James been very effective on these crossing patterns tonight. That's his 4th catch, all on crossing patterns. Now we are going to get a test from Anthony Montgomery. This will be the longest attempt easily of his Division 1A career. It'll come from 52 yards out. Tyler Jones hit one of these during his career.
Anthony's long this year is 36. This is 52 and a half. It is up. It's long enough. And it is wide. So he had plenty of leg there. And Anthony Montgomery missing his first field goal of the season as the Broncos go into the locker room down 14-7.
This time, of course, that the Portland State came in here and did well. That's when the coach of that team got hired. Pokey Allen was actually hired in 1992. We're back up to the booth.
Thanks, Larry. Sean Bodiford, the return for Portland State. A big hurdle and out to the 25-yard line. Pushed out of bounds there by Mike Altieri and Gerald Alexander. Also Kyle Stringer, the kickoff man, in on the play.
And you talk about Portland State special teams, you want to get a handle on Bodiford. He came in averaging 31 yards of return. Sawyer Smith, who had a decent first half. He had a pretty good second quarter, 7 of 10, but only 25 yards. Key stat there, though, 1 touchdown at the end of the first half.
So the Vikings will start at their own 25, 1st and 10. They are up 14-7. And no surprise here, Rubin touches it first, and he maybe got a yard. Met there by a host of Broncos. Corey Hall in on the stop as well.
As we look at the first half for Portland State, 7 catches for 10 yards.
Look at Rubin.
So, that's Smith's stats. I'm sorry. Rubin, 17 for 128. And he only had, as we mentioned, 7 for 18 in the second quarter. Bodiford, 2 catches for 11. Zabransky, outside of that interception, statistically, a good first half.
So it's 2nd and 9. Portland State, their first drive of the second half here, just underway. Smith over the middle. The fullback, Alan Kennett, with a big gain all the way up to the 45. No room there for Rubin, brought down by Chris Barrios and Michael G. Williams. Alex Guerrero also in on the stop. 2nd and 11 after the 1-yard loss. Portland State at their own 43.
Broncos are playing in the box right now.
Smith. Matt Smith with, that's for Reno. Gets it inside the 45 and a down for Portland State. 1st and 10 Vikings. They're moving it. They're at the Bronco 44. And they're going to be pushed
Before the ball
back.
was snapped, false start. Offense, number 65. 5-yard penalty. Remains first down.
Could have gone either way between Peter St. John and Steve Blatchley. Both of them moved before the ball was snapped. A break for the Broncos as takes them back out to the 49. Portland State trying to continue the momentum they finished the first half with.
So Portland State already 4 plays, 31 yards in this drive. And they have it at the Bronco 49, right about midfield. 1st and 15. Smith overthrows Kennett, incomplete. It'll bring up 2nd down. 2nd and 15. To the side, great grab by Sean Bodiford. And that's going to be a gain of about 6 out of bounds. Will bring up 3rd and long. Rubin's the lone tailback. Smith throws out to Rubin, incomplete. Pressure from Browning and Schleck away, and the Broncos hold, force a 4th down. Kicking it away for Portland State. Smith fields it at the 3. Very little room. Gets out to the 5, and typically in that situation, when it's inside the 10, you're usually taught to just let it bounce, and a tasty pregame meal. So the Broncos 1st and 10 at their own 5 here in the 3rd quarter. And that's Ian Johnson up the middle, a gain of about 4 to the 9. And scored 37 in the 2nd half. 2nd and 6. Lee Marks up ahead to the 15, very close to a 1st down.
Although they do lead 14-8 in 1st downs on the game, and you wouldn't think that.
So 1st and 10, this is Johnson. It's got a big hole. Up to the 30, gain of 14, another 1st down for the Broncos.
Well, Boise State saying anything you can do, I can do better, Joe Rubin. And this is a Joe Rubin type run by Ian Johnson. Great moves and a great job of wrapping up at the end of that play. Johnson had a fumble last week.
So the Broncos now have it at their own 29. 1st and 10, Johnson with 45 yards on 6 carries. Shotgun for Zabransky. Johnson, no room this time, and he's going to lose a couple. Tonight's attendance up over 30,000, a sellout, 30,603 here tonight.
Boise State's 15th all-time 30,000 crowd.
2nd and 10, and Zabransky on the keeper up to the 40, and that should be another 1st down.
You know, we talked about Zabransky not wanting to pitch the ball, but doing more of that lately. That time it looked like he did want to pitch the ball, but it wasn't there, so he took it himself. Here's Carpenter. Well, I don't know. On second thought, when you look at his eyes.
But he really sold the pitch with his head. He looked at the runner.
And he hasn't done that much. So the option, a work in progress for Boise State.
He was short of the 1st. It's 3rd and 1, and Zabransky on the keeper should get it this time. 1st and 10. The man in motion is Hunter. Zabransky tries to get it into Rabb, and fortunate that one was not picked off. That's Jason Murray and Cole Clayson there in motion. Zabransky's going to keep it. And he runs into a brick wall at the 47. Concerned look on Dan Hawkins' face as this team is down 14-7. 3rd down, Zabransky up over ahead of midfield, and that should be good for a 1st down.
That's a tough way to get that 1 yard, but
1st and 10 at midfield. Lee Marks. Lee Marks up ahead inside the 40 to the 38, and that's good for another 1st down. Lee Marks quietly starting to get into the fold.
That was classic Lee Marks there, because there was only one little seam. Brad Lau on the left side with kind of a screen block, and that was the only place Lee Marks could go. And he got the 11 yards out of it.
The senior, 6 carries, 20 yards tonight. 1st and 10, Broncos at the Vikings 39. Ian Johnson, another couple yards. So 2nd and about 7 for the Broncos. Jason Murray in motion. Ian Johnson nowhere to go. Broncos in the shotgun. Zabransky, and his man fell down, and that pass is intercepted. Condrew Allen. And so the Broncos turn it over again. They were driving, and now Portland State with the ball. 1st and 10 at their own 19. Joe Rubin into a pile. Smith chased by Mike G. Williams and throws it out of bounds. That'll bring up 3rd down at their own 21-yard line. Smith pressured again. And he throws it out of bounds again, and the Broncos hold. And here we go, Portland State punting. Levers gets it away. This is Quentin Jones. Somehow gets away. There's a flag down. And Jones brought down at the 37, but Portland State's Byron Woods got there a little early.
There are 2 flags on the play. What I'm guessing is going to happen here is it's going to be interference on Portland State, but maybe a hold on Boise State. Offsetting again.
And there is no halo rule in college football, but you do have to give the receiver an opportunity to catch the ball.
Yes, he was hit before the ball got there, right?
Well, it was kind of close.
Actually, it was very close.
But the referee...
Kick catch interference. Kicking team number 3. 15-yard penalty from the spot of the foul. First down, Boise State.
Stanley Jackson, the guilty party for Portland State, and so the Broncos will have it back on offense here in the third quarter. Timeout.
There were 2 flags thrown on that punt return, and I was afraid that one of them was against Boise State for a hold because we've seen so much of that tonight. They were both thrown for the same thing, and that was interference against Portland State in Quentin Jones' attempt to catch the ball.
And so after the infraction, the Broncos are going to set up in Portland State territory.
And that's just a killer. Why are they marking off
more? They're marching off more here. They may have called.
Hey, he's going to take it to the locker room. The ref has the ball, and they're just going to march it off all over again here.
They're redoing the penalty. 4:18 to go here in the third quarter. Portland State up 14-7.
Might I have been right?
So you were right, Tom.
Yes.
It was offsetting, and Tim Walsh was arguing that point. And initially, before going to break,
there is a correction on the last penalty. There were 2 fouls. Kick catch interference on the kicking team. An illegal block in the back on the receiving team. The penalties will offset and will re-kick 4th down.
Tom, good job.
Unfortunately, for Boise State. Yeah.
Because they were set up on the Portland State side of the field.
It was all set to go. The ball was spotted.
But I guess the upshot here is Quentin Jones gets another opportunity. Of course, he returned the 92-yard punt a week ago in Honolulu. Andrew Levers, the punter for Portland State, number 40.
He averages just 35 yards a kick. But tonight he's at 41.5. He's really been good tonight.
And the referees trying to get everything sorted out, and it looks like we're finally ready for some football again. Levers gets it away. Good kick, drives Quentin Jones back all the way to the 22, and he botches the catch, and he's still on his feet. And Jones loses it on the way down. He brought it up to the 24, and let's take a look.
Well, Portland State isn't celebrating yet. Looks like the Broncos got it back.
Jeff Carpenter. Carp's got some room all the way out to the 35 for a first down. Gain of 11. The man in motion is Lee Marks. Play action, the screen to Marks. And Marks out close to the 45, gain of 9, brought down by DJ Robinson.
Now when you're Lee Marks, think about all the things that you had to do on that play. First you had to line up on the flank on the left side, switch into motion as a tailback, sell a run fake, and then make a catch and get 9 yards out of it.
And a great catch it was. It was a little behind him. And the senior from Reseda, California with a big pickup. And the Broncos now have second and short about 1 yard. This is Ian Johnson, cuts it back and has some space out to the 46-yard line. A first down, gain of 7. 1st and 10. Johnson gets it again into the pile. Ahead for 4 yards. Lee Marks back into the game. He's the pitch man. And Zabransky keeps it and is brought down hard by Byron Woods. 6'1", 225.
Well, the senior from Salem made Zabransky pay. Zabransky, it was a great option run up until that point. And the crowd, a big ooh from the crowd of 30,600 here at Bronco Stadium. Look at that.
Textbook tackle.
A takedown. Big 3rd down play here for the Broncos.
So Zabransky picked up a couple.
We are already near the end of the 3rd quarter.
And the Broncos still trailing 14-7. 3rd and 3. A long 3. Zabransky pitch to Marks. Marks. Lee Marks all the way down inside the 10-yard line.
Boy, that was set up for a loss, but Marks accelerated.
A gain of 30 yards. 40-yard gain.
Boy, he took a hit there at the end of that play from Dominic Dixon.
So the Broncos needed that one. They're now 1st and goal at the 10-yard line. They need the full 10 to score. Jason Murray in motion, and we have a flag.
False start. Offense, number 79. 5-yard penalty.
Clady.
First down.
They want Clady in there. He is clearly their choice at right tackle.
He won the job in fall camp. Got dinged up, sprained his knee. Ryan Keating had been in the last couple of games, but Clady tonight seeing most of the action at right tackle. So that's going to push him back 5 yards. It's going to bring up a 1st and goal at the 15.
And another wholesale personnel change for the Broncos.
And
Zabransky wants a timeout.
So the Broncos are going to think about it. 21 seconds to go in the 3rd. Broncos still trail 14-7 here on homecoming night at Bronco Stadium. And Marks took it down to the 10 on that run, but they were pushed back with a false start penalty, so they have 1st and goal at the 15. Nane in motion. Zabransky to Carpenter. Jeff Carpenter barrels into the pylon, and they call him down at the 1.
He landed on the pylon.
If you land on the pylon, it's a touchdown, but they don't call it that way, and the fans letting him have it.
Man, another screen, this time right. This set up at the Broncos' only touchdown of the game in the first half to the left side. There he lands on the pylon, and his shoulder lands in bounds. And the ball is inside. You're right,
the
Dave.
ball breaks the plane. So it brings up 2nd and an inch. Ian Johnson into the game at running back. And it's a sneak, and it's a touchdown for Zabransky. So, academic because the Broncos punch it in on the next play. Here's Montgomery for the point after. It's up, and it hits the upright, and it is no good. And Boise State unable to even up the game here. They trail by 1 on the missed PAT. It's the first one Montgomery has missed this season, and take a look at it.
He was 17 of 17.
And it is just not the Broncos' night, and nothing coming easy here tonight for Boise State. They did manage to march it down the field, 8 plays, 76-yard drive, 3:51 off the clock. Zabransky in on the sneak. And that's Sean Bodiford. And again, the ball out of bounds, and again, a 5-yard penalty. Kyle Stringer unable to keep it in the field of play. 9 seconds to go in the 3rd. This is 1st and 10 for Portland State at the 35. Smith. overthrows Sean Bodiford, incomplete, brings up second down coverage there. 2nd and 10, Vikings. This is Joe Rubin with a stutter step, gets ahead past the 40 for a 6-yard gain. Portland State with a 3rd down to start the 4th quarter. Let's check in with Larry.
Looks like the crowd's beginning to pick things up just a little bit more here. They were fairly quiet in the 3rd quarter. 4th quarter seems to be energizing the crowd. It looks like we're going to be back into the action. Back to the booth.
Thanks, Larry. And the Broncos with a stop there on 3rd down. Alan Kennett was the receiver, and he stopped a little short, and it's going to bring up a 4th down for Portland State as we look at the 3rd quarter stats. So the Broncos force a punt. It's 4th and inches. Levers gets it away, and Austin Smith, the return man, takes it at the 11 and met there immediately as we get underway here just at the start of the 4th quarter. Ian Johnson. Forward progress should take him out to the 17. Georgia, the big surprise, they beat Tennessee on the road. And the give on 2nd down.
Lee Marks.
It's to Lee Marks. Not a lot of room there. Schumann in motion. Zabransky, that's Schumann right there. Out to the 40-yard line, big gain. Knocked out of bounds by Shem Hardnett and Dominic Dixon.
Schumann has been a part of the Bronco passing game all season. Boy, he snuck out there. He didn't even have a linebacker on him. Nobody knew he was there.
Look at him fight.
Look at that battle. He was so upset with himself last week for a couple of mistakes he made in the game against Hawaii, but he had that big 4th down catch in a key drive for the Broncos, and there's a big one there.
21-yard gain, 1st catch for Schumann. That's James in motion. He gets the handoff. And Dryzen James hit from behind across the 45. Joey King bringing him down.
And the Broncos will take that on 1st down.
All right, 2nd and 4 for the Broncos. The give is to Ian Johnson. Good gain out to midfield, very close to a 1st down. 11:42 to go here in this ball game. Zabransky, Dryzen James can't hang on to it. Incomplete. That'll bring up a 2nd and 10.
There we go.
2nd and 10, and there's a shocker. Nevada just blowing out Idaho tonight in Reno. Zabransky. Tries to get it out to Dryzen James, and incomplete, and didn't quite get enough on it. Zabransky out to James. That's 1st down yardage, taken out at the 38. Coverage there by Odell Jackson, and the Broncos have a 1st down. At the Portland State 38, clock ticking, 11:20 to go, or actually it'll start ticking here with this play. Zabransky. And that is Jovan Hutchison.
He is so seldom in the game, especially at crunch time.
2nd down. Up into the pile, Lee Marks. 3rd and 4 for the Broncos. Jeff Carpenter's in the backfield. Cole Clayson in motion. And this one is out to Jason Murray, upended by Dominic Dixon.
Neither of those guys feels good right now. Both
3 guys on the turf. Schumann slow to get up as well.
No gain on the play.
Wow.
Wide receiver screen just didn't have enough interference in front of it. As we'll get another look here at Dominic Dixon.
Wow. So the Broncos will have a 4th down. Timeout. 4th and 5. Zabransky caught by Dryzen James at the 32, or actually the 27, and that is good for a Bronco 1st down. So the Broncos roll the bones, and they keep the drive alive.
Right, Portland State played a little bit soft on that one. James had to climb the ladder.
And so Boise State calls their first timeout of the half. They'll have 2 left. They trail by 1 with 9:17 to go here in the fourth quarter on homecoming. 9:17 to go here in the fourth quarter. The Broncos just spent their second timeout, so they have 1 remaining as Jared Zabransky, 19 of 27 for 232. And this is 1st and 10 now at Portland State's 26-yard line. That is Dryson James in motion. And he gets it on the slant. James all the way down to the 7-yard line. Brought down by George Quijano.
A nice play fake this time to Lee Marks, and then a shot put. It was a little shot put from Zabransky to James.
17-yard gain.
And that gives James his first 100-yard game of his career.
And it is spotted at the 9. It'll be 1st and goal from there. Broncos looking to take the lead. Johnson picks up 2.
There's a guy who's due for a touchdown, Ian Johnson.
The pitch to Marks. Lee Marks in for the touchdown.
On the option, Lee Marks doing the rest himself. Brad Lau didn't get all of his block. He got just enough of George Quijano, didn't get him all. But Marks using that speed and the leaping ability, which we have seen several times tonight from several Broncos.
So the Broncos take the lead for the first time in this game with 8:03 to go in the fourth quarter, and the Broncos are going to go for 2. They are up 5, looking to make it a 7-point game. That's Marks in the backfield. James in motion. And we've got a whistle.
Wow.
Before the snap, false start. Offense, number 1. 5-yard penalty, replay the try.
Gerard Rabb. And so the Broncos wanting to stretch this up to a 7-point game. Now they got to think about whether they want to go for 2 or kick the extra point. And it looks like they're gonna
stay with the 2-point conversion try here. They want to get that 7-point margin because Portland State has been showing the ability to march that ball down the field.
Empty backfield. Zabransky, the slant to James, and they convert the 2.
Dryson James having a big night. He was a key on that drive. He had a drop, but then had a 4th down catch, a 17-yarder on a screen, and a 2-point conversion that gives the Broncos a 7-point lead.
Been an uphill battle here tonight, but the Broncos finally have the lead in this game on a 15-play, 87-yard drive. Lee Marks with a touchdown, and they converted for 2 to go up by 7. Sean Bodiford on the return for Portland State. And he is down at the 27-yard line. David Shields in on the stop, and we got a flag.
And Bodiford's slow to get up, and they're going to need him on this drive. Sawyer Smith is going to have to go to the air, and they need Sean Bodiford out there. Their top wideout.
During the return, holding. Number 25 on the receiving team. Half the distance. First down.
Helena Ho'okano. Smith complete to the 19, close to a first down. That's Botiford. Joe Rubin squirts ahead to the 20. That's good for a first down. Pass incomplete. Rubin can't hang on to it. Coverage there by Austin Smith.
Smith prides himself on being a hitter. That was on display on that play. Sawyer Smith had plenty of time there and then just tried to dump it off. Stripped out there at the last minute by Austin Smith on a nice hit.
Austin Smith coming into his own at the rover position, taking over for Chris Carr. 2nd and 10. Incomplete, once again through the hand of his receivers. Marty Tadman on the coverage. It'll bring up 3rd down. Smith to Farino, it's complete.
Oh,
and it is short of the first down. Skandrick there on the coverage at their own 29. Joe Rubin across the 30, and they're going to pick up the first down. And I guess if you're the Vikings and Coach Tim Walsh, you dance with who brung you.
Go with your money, man, and Joe Rubin it is.
So the Vikings keep this drive alive, and look what Joe Rubin did in the first half. 17 carries, 128, most of that in the first quarter. Second half, 6 carries, 11 yards. So the Broncos have shut him down. They need to do it here. 1st and 10. Smith, lots of room to run. Out past the 40, close to another first down. Rubin. Out past midfield. First down into Bronco territory.
Boy, Portland State had that thing bottled up on the left side. Great blocking out there by Steve Blatchley, number 69, the left tackle. And when Rubin has that kind of daylight, it's a gimme 11, 12 yards.
5:09 to go here in the 4th quarter, and the Bronco 2-point conversion that put them up by 7 looking bigger and bigger right now, as it is 1st and 10 for the Vikings. Smith out to Farino. Farino past the 40, out of bounds at the 38, pushed out by Orlando Skandrick.
That'll be another first down. You got to be a sure tackler. Another missed tackle by the Broncos, who have had several tonight.
And Boise State not out of the woods yet. They lead by 7, but the Vikings not going quietly.
This could have been stopped. Austin Smith, the usual sure tackler, could have been stopped for a 2-yard gain. Instead of that, it's 12.
And we got to give Tim Walsh and his Vikings a lot of credit here tonight. 1st and 10, Vikings at the 38 of the Broncos. Smith over the middle, nobody home, incomplete. 2nd down. Intended for Sean Botiford.
I don't know if he was throwing that away. It didn't look like he had to. He had a couple of ways he could have gone after the play fake to Joe Rubin. He was looking at one guy all the way, and then he just uncorked it. Maybe it was the pressure that made him do that.
So it's 2nd down, Portland State, 4:53 to go. Farino in motion. Joe Rubin, no space, No gain, brought down by Michael G. Williams, Corey Hall, and Nick Schleckaway there as well.
Holt Brooks also there. Brooks was on the top of your screen there and loops back around to help make the stop at the initial hit by Mike G. Williams. There's Brooks. No gain on that play. Here's another big 3rd and 10. You know, Portland State has run a tremendous amount of time off itself. Look at the clock now.
4:18 and counting. 3rd and 10, Portland State. Smith, intended for Bodiford. A little bumping and grinding, but it's incomplete, and it'll bring up 4th and 10.
Clinton Jones desperately looking for the ball on that one as Portland State went for it all. Now 4th and 10, they have to go. They don't think they'll get the ball back.
Well,
they don't have to go?
I think they're gonna punt.
Oh man, I don't know.
4:05 to go.
I don't know about this decision.
Yeah, I think with Boise State's offense, definitely not a stellar night for them, but they've shown that they can get in a little bit of a rhythm. So Portland State elects to punt.
They figure they have 2 timeouts left.
Andrew Levers gets it away. Austin Smith gets it at the 8. And he's pushed out at the 25. Call it the 26. Broncos will have 1st and 10 there and looking to salt this away with 3:56 to go in the 4th quarter.
Well, it's going to have to be run, and run some more to take time off the clock, and they're going to need at least 2 first downs out of this.
And that's exactly the scenario last week at Hawaii. They got the ball back with about 4 minutes to go following that 2-point defensive conversion, and the Broncos were able to run it out and go home with a victory. So here we go, 21-14, Boise State, 1st and 10 at the 26. Antoine Carter in at tailback. And that's Carter up over past the 30.
And now he will get up very slowly.
Very deliberate.
As on your screen, you'll be watching that number in the white box on the top right.
And talking to offensive coordinator Chris Peterson yesterday, he said this was a no-win situation for the Broncos. And I'll elaborate on that after this play. 2nd down. That's Ian Johnson. He's got a first, stays in bounds. Clock keeps ticking.
Best of all possible worlds for Boise State.
So getting back to Chris Peterson, a game like this against a 1AA opponent, if you blow them out, you were supposed to. If it's close or you lose, that's the worst possible scenario. So really not a good situation to be in, but the Broncos are trying to escape with a win here.
Well, just you know, a lot of people called the loss by Stanford to UC Davis the worst loss in Division 1A history. That's
so,
what it's like.
1st and 10 for the Broncos. Ian Johnson again. No room, but the clock is going to keep ticking. Looks like Portland State might call a timeout.
So they will have 1 left now, will the Vikings. They have done a yeoman's job tonight as Portland State.
They opened their season at Oregon State. They lost 41-14 at Oregon State earlier this year. And they're not shy about playing D1 programs.
Once again this year, all sports noon lunches will be held on Mondays at the Boise State Student Union Building in the Jordan Ballroom.
Longtime Bronco fans will remember Portland State coming here in 1992. Boise State was on a 5-game winning streak at that time. And Pokey Allen and Al Borges rolled up a then school record 605 yards on Boise State, one of the greatest displays of offense ever in this stadium. Somebody walking out of the press box that night said to me, "Nice audition, huh?"
Oh, yeah.
And Pokey Allen did indeed end up with the Bronco job 2 months later.
And Portland State was a Division II program back then.
And Boise State was 1AA, so you still had that leap. It wasn't as big a leap as it is now, but that was an unbelievable performance. The one thing I remember that night about John Charles, the Portland State quarterback, best play action guy I have ever seen.
Very good at selling. 2nd and 11 for the Broncos. They keep it on the ground with Zabransky. And he gets out past the 40.
Stay in bounds. That forces Portland State to use its final timeout.
So there's 2:39 to go here in the game. And Portland State burns their last timeout. Broncos clinging to a 7-point lead, and it has not been easy tonight. Portland State coming in here from the Big Sky Conference, obviously a conference many Bronco fans are familiar with, and not backing down, not intimidated at the walkthrough yesterday. They were a confident bunch, and they felt like they belonged here and they could come in and give the Broncos a game, and they've done just that.
Well, nobody in Boise should ever be dissing the Big Sky, because it was the Broncos' home for 26 seasons from 1970 to 1995, and some great memories there. And the Big Sky is still one of the premier 1AA conferences in the nation. There's a great race right now in the Big Sky. Got Montana, a contender. Portland State here is a contender. Eastern Washington, Idaho State in the mix. Montana State. That's a wide open conference this season.
So big 3rd down here for the Broncos. 3rd and 6. The ball's at their own 41. Zabransky in the shotgun. Blitz. And Zabransky down at the 42. And that'll bring up 4th down, and the Vikings not going to go away quietly.
So we'll see how quickly they spot this ball. The play clock hasn't started yet.
Adam Hayward with the pressure. 2:17 and counting.
They can take this under the 2-minute mark before Kyle Stringer punts.
And we've obviously given credit to Portland State. They've played very well, but at the same time, a lot of inconsistencies still with the offense for the Broncos. Those penalties, and still not quite the well-oiled machine we've seen in the past as Stringer gets it away. Farino takes it at the 11. Farino leaps out and down at the 26.
Almost loses the ball, but scoops it back in. And the clock will stop on the change of possession. You talk about a struggling Boise State offense tonight. You gained 472 yards. But when you gain 472 yards, you should have about 5 touchdowns out of it, and that's the frustrating thing tonight for BSU.
And they have been able to put together some really long drives. A couple were, there was the interception down deep in Portland State territory that stopped that drive, and so they really haven't been able to close the deal. 1st and 10 Vikings, no timeouts, 1:47 to go. Pressure from Browning. Smith throws it away. That'll bring up 2nd down, 1:40 to go. That stops the clock.
He just barely threw it away, too. It was almost in the field of play. It was up for grabs. Broncos finally getting some pressure on Sawyer Smith. They have not sacked him tonight. I don't believe either quarterback's been sacked in this game.
So that'll bring up 2nd and 10. Portland State needing a touchdown, so they have to go the length of the field. Or in this case, 74 yards. Smith out to Kennett. Brought down by Chris Barrios at the 25. It's going to be about a loss of 1.
Broncos desperately trying to wrap him up. The big legs of Alan Kennett at 5'10", 240 pounds.
And the clock continues to run, 1:18 and counting. 3rd down. Smith deep, he's got a man. And he overthrows Kenneth Mackins. And the Broncos dodging a bullet there. Wow.
The Broncos secondary having a little discussion amongst its collective self right now. Orlando Scandrick saw Mackin out there, At the end of the play, he turned around and looked and said, oops, where the heck did he come from?
So the Broncos dodge a big one.
Oh my gosh.
That'll bring up 4th down. 4th and 10. This is the ball game, everybody. 1:05 to go. And it's a flag, delay of game. So that'll push him back 5.
Obviously didn't cost him anything on the clock.
Before the ball was snapped, false start. Offense, number 69. 5-yard penalty, remains 4th down.
Same deal. It was a false start, not delay a game, but 5 yards nonetheless. It'll bring up 4th and 15.
Well, we've had our fill of false starts tonight.
I guess if you false start, it's kind of a delay a game. Here we go, 4th and 15. Smith complete at the 30, but it's well short of a first down. That's Mackins with the reception. The Broncos will take over on downs. And Portland State cannot stop the clock. And so now it's academic. The Broncos going to get out of here with a much more difficult than anticipated victory.
I think you could call this the biggest sigh of relief of the new century at Boise State.
And I have to say it again, Coach Hawkins, and I don't think it was coach speak, I don't think it was hype, I don't think it was anything except him saying as way back as August that this was a landmine game. This was going to be a tough one for a lot of different reasons, and the Broncos could not afford to overlook the Vikings as Zabransky is going to kneel down, and
it certainly proved to be that tonight. We talked to offensive coordinator Chris Peterson yesterday, and he said this is not about look out for Portland State because it's a UC Davis type thing, and Portland State this. It said it's all about Boise State and how Boise State plays. And I think there was a little bit of maybe a little bit of complacency here with Portland State coming in. A lot of momentum from the win last week at Hawaii.
And the Broncos going to win this game, and I think with 26 straight home wins coming in, this would not be the kind of team you wanted to have that streak snapped against. As the Broncos now make it 27 straight at home, Tim Walsh and Dan Hawkins go way back. Hawk was a defensive coordinator for Walsh at Sonoma State, and a hard-fought victory here tonight.
A lot of good games down there, and he means that. You talk about teams when they get off the bus not either being impressive or not very impressive. When Portland State gets off the bus, they look like a Division I-A team. They've got size. They showed they have speed tonight. They showed they have grit.
So the Broncos take care of business. It was a tough one, but they get it done. As I mentioned, 27 straight at home now. The streak continues. They